What's happening? It's Friday night, off the cuff, rocked on Detroit Lions. Man, I'm happy to be here. I am so happy with Brad Holmes and what he is doing. Sorry about being a couple minutes late, but I could not stop doing research on this guy that we picked up today, or at least it's coming in for a visit. We didn't pick him up. My apologies. The stories go on forever and ever and ever, and it's a crazy good story. I was going to do something a little bit different tonight. I was going to research and do a kind of a review of some free agency stuff, and we might have some time to do it, but I think you guys want to hear this story. I got to tell you, man, I'm blown away by this kid and what he's been through in life and where he's at now, and I see clearly what a Brad Holmes guy is, and he is it. So like the thumbnail says, man, Brad Holmes, the Detroit Lions, they are shopping the Canadian retail markets, man. It's not five and below anymore. You would think it would be because this guy's a no-name, but he's not a no-name over there. And he certainly has made a name for himself wherever he's been. So super excited for this kid. I really hope that things work out for Qwan'tez. I really do. He deserves it. So, all right, what's up to everybody in the chat? We have the Fallen One, new name. Welcome in tonight. I think you've been here before, been a while. Curtis Wilson, El Torrey, Tracy. Who else? Steve K, Braylon Dennis, King SJ by way of Toronto. So King SJ, man, you've got to have this inline scoop here on these Canadian guys. You would think, if you can ever bring some info to the table, please let us know. Rick Grit, what's happening? John Pierce, good evening, everybody. Let's do this off the cuff Friday night style. And I'm going to give you a story, and I'm going to apologize up front because it's going to take a minute for me to get through this story. So I won't be able to communicate a ton with the chat right up front. Let me try to find out where I put it first. That would help. So I put together a lot of information about this guy. What a last name, Stiggers. Love it. Love the last name. Qwan'tez. Even cooler first name. So, as a report said today that the Lions are bringing him in, and it's a weird story. It's a great story, and we're going to talk about it. John Desage, what's happening? How's everybody doing? Superintendent Chalmers. What is that? Poppy and Lily's dad? Oh, that's a cool one. Haven't seen that one. Michael Shembri. Got some new names in here tonight. What's happening, everybody? All right, so let's talk about Qwan'tez Stiggers. 6 foot, 197 pounds. The Detroit Lions have already dipped into the CFL market by bringing in Matthew Betts, and now they're bringing this guy in for a visit. So he is the reigning most outstanding. I'm sorry, the Lions dipped into the CFL market this offseason, signing the reigning most outstanding defensive player, Matthew Betts, to a free agent contract. So he's already in house, but now Brad Holmes is set to host the league's reigning most outstanding rookie, Qwan'tez Stiggers. And like I said, it's a weird story by how he was able to pull this off, but he is going to be one of the pre-draft top 30 visits, according to Aaron Wilson, an NFL reporter. So shout out to Aaron Wilson for reporting this and staying up on the Detroit Lions football. Stiggers, unusual case as a prospect who did not play college football. That's what makes this weird. He never played any college ball. He jumped straight into the Canadian Football League, and he remains draft eligible. And, of course, we'll be taking this visit like a normal draft prospect here in Detroit. So, or over there in Detroit. So, Stiggers, he's a cornerback. He's a big guy, big cornerback. And he does move well, but he's taking an unconventional route to the professional football leagues. He has not played one snap of college football. He was set to enroll at Lane College in Tennessee, but he dropped out to an unfortunate incident with his father, who passed away in 2020. I've got some direct quotes in here, so these are things that have been shared publicly. It's not me saying these things. I'm just going to repeat them. But his father, Ravez Harrison, had been in a coma since Valentine's Day of 2020 after a one-car accident, and he ended up dying in September of 2020. Harrison's death shattered Stiggers' life. And not just from the natural emotional fallout. I mean, he was crushed. This is what Stiggers had to say. He said, "I just shut down because he meant the world to me. I didn't eat. I turned off my phone. I didn't come out of the house for a couple of weeks. I dropped out of school and I stayed away from football. I gave up on my dream. Why play football if your biggest fan couldn't be there?" You know, as a parent, as a father of two sons, and happy birthday, Christian. He turned 17 today. And I dearly miss my children right now. But you only hope that you leave a legacy behind with your children, that, you know, for your child to think about you in this way. That's how you hope your children think about you someday. And that you've, you know, left some sort of an indelible mark upon them that you will always be remembered for. And something unique that I'm doing, which I've started doing, is, you know, I have some private collection podcasts that I do where I'm just talking to my kids. And as long as YouTube is around when I'm not, they will have full access to, you know, all of the recordings, you know, of me just talking to them. Like, you know, hey, this is what I'm thinking about, you know, today. And what I'm thinking about them, and how much they mean to me. So, a little personal for me to share that with you, but you know, it's just one of those things. Like when you read stuff like this, it kind of hits you, you know, a little hard. So sadly, it was reported that Stiggers was battling some pretty bad depression, as the reason as to why he did not attend Lane College. He was very open about the fact that he had battled this depression after the loss of his father. He was highly encouraged by his mother and his fiance, and Stiggers recovered from depression and began searching for a place to play ball again. Good for him. But managing his depression, Stiggers took jobs that included driving for DoorDash, washing cars at Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport. He was encouraged by his mother, Qwan'tez, and he trained and did individual football drills. He even considered returning to college to play football, but that's where he hit a ton of roadblocks. He called, this is a direct quote, he says, "I called several schools, and either they wouldn't call me back or the coaches would say they filled their last spot. So I just stopped trying and continued to work out." Well, he didn't give up. That's what's the bigger story here, is he didn't give up. This is a testament to everybody that's battling something, you know, just what this kid has gone through, and in the way that, you know, he picked himself up by the bootstraps and just kept going, is the reason why he's getting an opportunity right now. So meanwhile, Qwan'tez Stiggers, his mother, had other ideas. Knowing her son was still deeply passionate about the game, she kept her eyes out for any football opportunity. And one day, while she was doing the social media scroll like we all do, she came across a fan-controlled football. It was a professional 7-on-7 indoor football league in Atlanta. Games were streamed online. Players earned about $450 per week. Not a bad gig. Get to work out and make a few bucks while you're doing it. So Stiggers made enough of an impression, though, at the first open tryout for this 7-on-7 that he made the team. He was now back in organized football within 2 years after he left, you know, and going through that whole crushing experience. In his presence, man, it was undeniable right away. So I believe that this shows, you know, this kid's toughness, and that word grit, you know, that we talk about in this book that I have right here that talks about this exact thing, you know, to battle through this, to get back to doing what he loved, which was playing football, to climb out of the dark cloud that he was in. This is just yet another reason why, you know, I'm so high on sports and why I love doing this, because they're important to so many different people for many different reasons. And providing an outlet for people to work through things, you know, whether it's in life or at home, and you just need a place to escape, sports offers that. So when your kids want to play, let them play. Give them that outlet, you know. Maybe it's not football. Maybe it's another sport. That's okay. It provides an outlet. I can tell you that when I played golf in high school, there was nothing better than walking, up to the next green and just thinking about things, the entire time, preferably the game, but, your mind wanders. But it was a good outlet. So as the youngest player in the league, he was 20 years old. He led the FCF, that's the abbreviation for this league, with 5 interceptions in 12 games. Excuse me, including an interception for a touchdown in his first game. I believe he ran 28 yards back to the end zone. He was runner-up in his first year for Player of the Year. Now, before Stiggers joined the league, get this. Several former NFL players played in the FCF. Terrell Owens, Johnny Manziel, and Josh Gordon. So this league has seen some pretty darn good players come through it. Now, with a successful season under his belt, he was ready for this next challenge, right? He was provided private workout with the Orlando Guardians of the XFL. But the Stiggers FCF coach, John Jenkins, a former assistant with the Toronto Argonauts, told his former employer about this 6', 197 corner, 20-year-old who they should take a look at. So then the assistant GM to the Toronto Argonauts said this about Stiggers. He said, man, we saw the ball skills and the athleticism. They had guys in their league who played in various parts of pro football, in training camps, scrimmages. We're talking about grown men, and we saw a 20-year-old popping off the screen against them. We saw he was something special. You guys getting it yet? Like this is a dude that Brad Holmes wants. He has worked his butt off his entire life to get to where he is and battled some of the highest mountains that he's had to climb. And he's here. He's arrived. As Prime says, we coming. Well, this dude's coming. He's coming for somebody's job in the NFL. So from here, he went on a groundbreaking journey, obviously, that ultimately led to an invitation to play in the East-West Shrine Bowl on February 1st. This is what Stiggers had to say about that experience. He says, my goal in the East-West Shrine game is to put it all out there and show how my life is not just a good story. Dude, it's not a good story, man. This is a phenomenal story. He said, there's a lot behind it. I can really play football, and this isn't just a fairy tale. Well, I got to disagree with you, Stiggers. This is going to be a fairy tale ending for you, my man. I can see it, and I can't wait to find some tape. That's the one thing I haven't been able to find yet. So this guy's story just kind of gets more incredible from here. So prior to the Shrine Bowl, his journey to Canada almost did not happen. And this is crazy. He favored the XFL since it was closer to home, but the possibility of joining the XFL through the supplemental draft was his option. But get this, the XFL sent his contract to the wrong email address. So he never signed it, never joined the XFL. Obviously, that made the CFL a much easier choice. But it came with a bigger challenge. And Stiggers had this to say. He says, man, I'm showing up to a league second to the NFL with no college experience. So I thought I'd be the first player cut. He wasn't lying, man, because there's as I'll explain, but Stiggers wasn't alone in this assessment. The former Argonauts defensive back coach, Josh Bell, now with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, already had a predisposition. He was prejudging the book before he even opened it and read the first chapter, right? When it came to rookies. So this is what this guy had to say, Josh Bell. He said, I received an email that we signed Qwan'tez Stiggers, and there was no college next to his name. I was like, oh, no, we're going to get him out of here real quick. I don't have time to deal with this guy, and I already don't like rookies. And he never went to college. There's no way he's going to pick up what our offenses do or what we do on our defense. So, I mean, guys judging the guy, right? So next, it doesn't take long for Stiggers and Coach Bell to kind of change their minds. as Stiggers started to separate himself right away, pulling from the pack during his first 2 days of training camp. Bell was especially impressed by how Stiggers was able to pick up the terms and concepts of the CFL game. Coach Bell then recanted he said this, his explosion is dangerous. I call him a barracuda. That first day, he was moving around, bursting and shooting across the field. He crushes the earth when he plants his feet into the ground. At the end of training camp, I went from Qwan'tez couldn't do anything for me to becoming everything we needed. Huh. Don't judge, people. Don't ever judge. That is the one thing that I don't do. And I'll tell you a quick side story. The reason why I don't do it, because in the many years of sales that I was in, and even starting low in the totem pole back in, my early 20s, doing in-home sales, I've gone to some of the, what you would consider the worst houses, people that look, poor, and I'm not judging here, but it's, just trashy. Everything's a mess. And those are the people that had probably the best credit scores or the most cash. It's just weird. You just don't judge, right? I mean, I've gone to some of the nicest $1 million homes and they don't got a pot to piss in because their house broke, they're house poor, whatever term you want to use. They don't have any extra cash. They don't have any extra funds. Now, again, I'm not judging. I don't do that. But that's how I learned, at a young age, like you just don't judge a book by its cover. Get to know everybody, shake everybody's hand, it's just the way I live my life, I guess. So to go on here, Stiggers won the CFL Defensive Rookie of the Year award while playing for the Argonauts. It was there he blossomed into a standout player. He had 53 defensive tackles, 5 interceptions during the 2023 season, earning an invite to the East-West Shrine Bowl, like we already discussed. But he was not invited to the scouting combine. So, I mean, what a story, right? And I haven't seen it in, yet in the chat. I haven't been reading anything just yet, but I tell you what, interesting little tidbit to this is, according to ESPN stats and info, in the common draft era, there have only been 2 players drafted that didn't play in college. Defensive lineman Eric Swan, big name, 1991, and tight end Moritz Boehringer in 2016. And Stiggers is looking to become the 3rd. I think this guy's got a big shot. I really do. And who is this Samuel Manino dude? Never seen this name before. Clearly a moronic troll. See you, buddy. All right. So, yeah, don't know the guy. Never heard of him before. Clearly someone that doesn't like success, because that's what we're all about over here at Rocktown Detroit Lions, is success. And that's what the Detroit Lions are all about, is sustained success. And that's what we're looking at right here. So this guy, I mean, just an incredible story. Clearly has that chip, right? I mean, he has the edge. Everything that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are looking for, this guy's been through it. He's been fighting to stay relevant, and that's exactly what he's done. And now he's getting pulled in to Brad Holmes' office to have a pre-combine or pre-draft, pre-draft visit. And it's going to be special. If this guy makes the squad, or any squad in the NFL, my hat's off to him, because he earns it. He's definitely earned an opportunity to showcase what he can do. And if he's this good, he definitely has the size, but if he is this good, I mean, it could just be a story that just keeps on growing. So, all right, let me see who's all in the chat now. And Brayla Dennis, George Vanderveen, how you guys doing? Got King SJ still in here. Curtis Wilson. So fire off some questions for me. Let's talk about this guy for just a moment. Based on the story, what do you guys think so far? Yeah, Justin G, I'm always grinding, man. Always. During the draft and during free agency. I mean, I'll go live 10 times a day if I need to. It's all good. It's what I do. I'm here to grow just like this guy is. Stiggers. I want to be as cool as that guy someday, to be honest with you. So J Mommy says, great story. Really hope that he has a role with the Lions. I mean, this is the kind of heart that you want, right? I mean, this is the kind of player that you want to infect that locker room with his hustle and his mentality. The fact that he has battled back, I mean, it's rough to come from that dark cloud, right? I mean, everyone battles something in their life, but to go through the loss of your father and then to be put in that situation, where you just gave up, but then you took it all back and you fought to stay there. I just think it's incredible. Pure grit player, like Braylon Dennis just said. It's absolutely incredible. Yes, he's a cornerback. All right. So next up here is Xavier Howard. So a couple weeks ago, I put out a video talking about the 5 squads in the NFL that were in cap purgatory. And one of them was the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins have or are going to release Xavier Howard and Ogba in obviously cap saving maneuvers. And it's just one of those things that, do you take a flyer on them? I don't know. It's just, we'll see what happens. I don't know who this dude is, but he's got to go. Curtis Wilson. No, I have not seen, any of his, other measurables yet. And as far as intangibles, I've got to watch tape. So I haven't seen any of the tape yet. But we will find it somehow. I was looking for a way to buy the NCAA tape to see if there's a way that I could just get my hands on some raw tape. The NFL wants 6 figures. They start at like 150K just to get access to some highlights. And a lot of them you still can't use. So it's going to take a few more years, for us to grow before we're going to be doing any moves like that, but that's the goal. I mean, that the goal is to someday to be able to have access to all of that. Someday soon. So Xavier Howard, I'm not, I talked about some players that were going to be available. I'm hoping that Christian Wilkins is one of them that, maybe they can't retain. Clearly, they're making moves right now to free up cap space because they have to get under the number by the 13th. And I believe that Wilkins is going to be one that they want to retain. So does Howard still have it? See, that's the question. Can he help us? I think he can help. I don't know. He doesn't have the greatest grades this year, but he's also been one of the leading interception cornerbacks in the league since like 2016. I think he has 29. He has the most since 2016. I think there's only one other player that's even close. Let me see if I even wrote that down. I don't even think I wrote that down. I'll look in just a second. So yeah, depth is what I'm looking at. The same thing with Steven Nelson. Steven Nelson doesn't really jump off the page other than his cover grades are really good. And the fact that he only had a 69.1 passer rating against. And that's what I see right away with Xavier Howard. So Xavier Howard's passer rating allowed is an 86.7. I mean, that's like 20 some odd points better than any player that we had on the Lions this last season. So yes, I would say that the stats would add up to the fact that he could help. I mean, if he can play this well, this is better than anybody else was, this last season. So 2023, before I go into that, he's 6'1", 203. He runs a 4.58. So he's not blazingly fast. But I'll tell you that speed is not everything in this game. It's a big component, but it's the brains. And the brains is where you lose some big time play out of these guys that just, they have all of the measurables. but they don't have all the brains to go along with it. And they're always out of, alignment. And that's where you get hurt. Justin G says Howard is great, but on the tail end of his career, he's depth if we get a solid replacement. We definitely need a number one. So like Xavier Howard, Steven Nelson, they wouldn't be coming in as our number one, in my opinion. I wouldn't think that, that would be the upgrade that we're looking for. I think that with the salary cap, getting a huge boost today, that just opened the door for the Lions to tie up one of these top 3 cornerbacks in the league right now that are free agents. And I would have to think that Brad Holmes is trying to do that. If the Bears can't, hold down Jalen Johnson, then there's an opportunity. If the Chiefs can't keep Snead, there's an opportunity. But there's only so many free agents to go around. So unless you're going to trade a player and trade some picks to try to take somebody away, does that really help the Lions? I don't think that we can afford to lose any draft capital right now. I mean, if we're moving up in the draft, that's one thing, because you're getting a better player and you're getting them for a long time and a really low contract. But to trade for a top player right now, if you had to give up 2 first-round picks to get the top cornerback in the league, and you're going to end up paying them, $20+ million a year, I just don't see where that helps. Immediately it helps if you're going to go all in this season. But in 2 years, you're going to be right back into a cap situation. And I just don't see Brad Holmes doing that. I don't see him putting this team in that kind of a situation, knowing where he came from and where this team came from when he took it over. I don't think he wants to go back to the $65 million dead cap days, in 2021, because you can't do anything. You can't make your football team better. Demigod 313 says, I love what the Lions are doing, adding pressure to send a message to every position before the season. And he said, I would pay Howard to be a backup because depth is my worry for this season. So let's talk about the depth. I mean, we only have 2 guys signed as corners. Well, you got Cam Sutton. Now I got to pull it up because I'm having a brain fart. And I think Chase Lucas is the only ERFA, right? And I think just about everybody else is a free agent. And I'm not counting the futures. I'm not counting, the previous practice squad guys, because those guys are not depth. I mean, Stephen Gilmore is the only one that has a shot. So when you look at our defense, CJ Gardner-Johnson, free agent. Kirby Joseph, he's locked up. Ifeatu Melifonwu, he's locked up. Brandon Joseph, I don't even know if he ever played, but these are safeties. Will Harris is a free agent. When you look at corners, Jerry Jacobs, I'm pretty sure he's under contract. Isn't he? Is he not? Let's look here. So free agents, cornerback, Emmanuel Mosley, Kendall Vildor, CJ Gardner-Johnson in the backfield. Chase Lucas should be the ERFA. So he's not listed as a free agent, but I think he should be. Stephen Gilmore is under contract. So you have Stephen Gilmore. Chase Lucas obviously should be back. Khalil Dorsey should be a free agent. Jerry Jacobs is under contract, but I mean, do you really think that he's going to come back after, the season that he just had and getting benched? I don't think so. So when you look at this, you have Cam Sutton and nobody else. You have nobody else that is a bona fide starter other than Jerry Jacobs, who had a terrible season. They all had terrible seasons. So in my opinion, you have Cam Sutton and that's it. If it were me sitting in that chair, I have Cam Sutton. He's going nowhere because I just signed him to a $33 million deal. And now I have to completely rebuild my defensive backs again. That's how I would be looking at it. So to your point, Demigod, yes. I'll get to that in just a second, Demigod. But yes, to your point, depth is first. So you need to find the depth guys as quickly as you can. the bigger targets, they're going to be hanging out no matter what for the next couple of weeks. And those are much harder, longer conversations unless you're willing to just throw them a blank check, right? So you've got to find the depth guys before everybody else locks them up. And Nelson's a great fit. Howard, I don't know. I think that from an experience standpoint, he would be great to have. If the Lions, solidify this front, then it really doesn't matter who you have back there. So anyway, with Xavier Howard, 38 total tackles, 1 interception. He was targeted 71 times this season, tied for 35th in the league, and he allowed 44 receptions for an 86.7 passer rating against. He only allowed 11.4 yards per reception. He missed 7 tackles, though. I think that's kind of a lot. Played in roughly close to 750 snaps. So about 3/4 of a season. Had 8 stops. No sacks. So, I mean, a pretty average career year for somebody that, has been in the league for 8 years, and he's not the number 1 cornerback. So to your question here, yeah, only if we had Sauce Gardner, right? But who would we have had to have, not taken if we had him? That's the question, right? So Demigod 313 says, I love what the Lions. Oh, I already read that one. Sorry. Demigod 313 says, I would pay Howard to be a backup. Depth is my worry. That one I just addressed. Non-related question. Will the Lions be revealing their uniforms around the draft? That was the rumor. It was the rumor that it was going to come out during the draft. And I'm wondering if they're going to keep the same helmet, with this alternate helmet that they have, or if it's going to be completely revamped. I don't know. I know the uniforms are getting done, but I don't know what they're doing with the helmet. Maybe nothing. But that's the rumor that they're going to be on display for the draft. I don't know. I have no idea. So Mike P says, love the story. Watch some film. The Derek had, he has some tools. Please continue to tell his story. I haven't seen any film yet on this guy. John Desage says, we do need a number 1 corner. Hopefully we can draft one. That's the tricky thing, man, this draft. I do want to do a PFF mock tonight, I think, if you guys are in for it. I want to see what's changed. I haven't even looked at it in a week. Demigod, I would definitely keep Jacobs, Gilmore, and sign Howard for experience to teach the young guys. See, I would take Nelson over Howard all day without even looking at Howard's tape. I would look at Nelson first, only because I watched his tape and then I looked at his stats, and he's been pretty darn consistent during his career, and he's going to be pretty inexpensive to keep around. And you'd really bring Jerry Jacobs back? I could see Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell doing that. I don't even know how much his contract is. I guess I should probably look at that to see what kind of sense it even makes. Can't imagine it's too crazy. Jerry Jacobs. Let's see here. He signed a extremely cheap deal the last 3 seasons. So he's a restricted free agent. So I don't know why these sites are not listing. I could have sworn Jerry was a free agent. So I don't know why they're not listing the restricteds and the ERFAs, because technically they're free agents, right? So you've got Brock Wright, Benito Jones, Anthony Pittman, Jerry Jacobs, Khalil Dorsey, all as restricted. Exclusive free agents, you have Chase Lucas. So again, I guess back to my main point, Cam Sutton is the only guy we got. That's it. We got to start over. And you might as well at this point. So Nelson is a good choice too. And yes, for Jacobs, because if you really think about it, he made more of an impact than any other DB. Well, I guess, if the contract's right, there's nothing wrong with bringing him back. And then if he ends up being depth, he's depth, right? If you bring in a number 1 corner, then you solve the problem of not having to play Jerry Jacobs. Would you agree? I think that would be the best play. Get rid of Braden Dennis. Who's Braden Dennis? I don't know who that is. Oh, Benito Jones. So Benito Jones is a restricted free agent. So there's an opportunity that he comes back. I'm more worried about the tight end position too than I am bringing back Benito, but I think the Benito's a key piece. I'm not real worried on him coming back. I think that he's a key piece because he's been in the defense for a little while now, and we do need some bodies for camp. He's not. It's not like he's making a ton of money. You know, I can't see him getting much more than the league minimum. Give me just a second here. All right, I'm back. All right, so the next guy up is Ogba. So Ogba is kind of an interesting prospect. The dude's getting paid a ton of money, and that's exactly why Miami is cutting him. So is he going to command a giant contract? Is he worth it? At 6'4", 278, he runs a 4.63, and that's pretty darn fast for a guy his size. This last season, he had 6 sacks. He only had 4 solo tackles, 9 assists, 1 forced fumble. Overall grade 57.2. Pass rush 67.1. Total pressures, he only had 19. And if we were to look at his rest of his stats, let's see what he did this year. So he played in the majority of all the games. Looks like he missed like week 9 or 10. Could have been a bye in there. Looks like he only missed 2 games this year. So those are terrible stats. So is he worth $20 million like he was getting paid? I don't think so. So there's a reason why they're moving on. You know, he was a former round 2 selection, pick 32 in round 2, drafted in 2016. So another guy that's got 7-8 years experience. Again, it could be a cheap depth guy. It depends on how much he's going to ask for. But these Lions do need to fill out the depth pieces. But how many defensive tackles or defensive ends are you going to bring in before you bring in the dog? I mean, because that's what we need. We need someone to come in and round out this defensive line to give us that extra push. So what I wanted to go over tonight is really just what's kind of happening in free agency right now. You're starting to see the noise pick up around the league, and there's going to be a lot of action. So there's going to be a lot of players that are going to become available here pretty quickly. And quite honestly, I'm a little surprised that it's happening this early. I just want to pull something up real quick here. So it looks like the Rams agreed to a deal with Demarcus Robinson. And then he had the news coming out about Miami. Steelers released their center, Mason Cole. So that one was interesting to me because, I mean, the Lions need a guard, and I doubt that Mason Cole is going to want to go play guard anywhere. But do you bring in a guy like that to be a backup center? He was only making, it looks like they freed up $4.75 million. So I guess the question is, do you bring someone in like that to help back up Ragnow in case Ragnow has a problem? So he was under a 3-year, $15.75 million contract, 4.5 signing, average salary $5.25 million. That is not bad. And if he's willing to play guard, that could be a big bonus for the Lions to have an opportunity to, slam dunk two spots right there for backup, depth, and a potential starting guard in case you can't get Jonah Jackson re-signed, or maybe you're just deciding to walk away from Jonah Jackson altogether. Curtis Wilson says Steven does not have a big enough sample size, in my opinion. We talking Steven Gilmore? Must be. He was a rookie last year, right? So he needs to show us what he has. I mean, he needs to show the Lions what he has. And I think he did enough last season to stick around. I'm actually quite surprised that he stayed on the practice squad. I think the entire season, and nobody came looking for him. I can't remember the guy that was it Sterling Thomas. That's the one that got away. And if you guys remember last season, I mean, maybe you don't, because not all of you were here with me then, but I was saying that Sterling Thomas was a guy you didn't want to let walk away. And sure enough, as soon as cuts happen, he gets yanked over to the Arizona Cardinals. Played quite a few games this year, and the reason why that happened is because the Lions were betting that Mosley was going to be ready by week 1. And I said it from day one. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. You've got your starters. Mosley hasn't played. Shelve him for 4 weeks. Put him, on the transition reserve injured list, and shelve him. Just leave him there. And then in 4 or 5 weeks, he'll be ready. Then you can play him, but don't lose Sterling Thomas. And it didn't work out that way. So 2 guys that, really played well in the preseason, but it's just preseason. And Sterling Thomas proved to everybody that he could play in this league because he got quite a bit of time in Arizona. Eric Parker says Jonah's PFF wasn't good enough. Let him walk. Draft the dog. Yeah, there's plenty of opportunity in this draft. Matter of fact, let's look at some. Let's do a PFF. Let me pull one in here. I didn't realize that PFF was now only giving people like 1 per day if you don't pay for the premium, which I've had the premium. And then they upped their rates this year too, up to $120 a year. Last year it was only $79, but they have a 30% off code right now. I think it's 30 MDS. I'll put it in the description if you guys want to sign up for PFF Premium and do the annual price. I think it knocks the price down to like $89 or something like that. But before I do PFF, so you have the Rams tendered in ERFA today. So any exclusive rights free agents you can work with right now. And there's teams that are doing stuff all over the place. Eagles re-signed their tight end, Albert. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. Of course, the Lions re-signed kicker Badgley. Chiefs re-signed or did sign safety Tyree Gillespie. And that was yesterday. Commanders signed linebacker Keandre Jones. Dolphins, as we know, are releasing Xavier Howard and Ogba. 49ers released cornerback Isaiah Oliver. So he's going to be somebody that's next on my list to take a look at. Don't know how much time he played this season. Have no idea, what his worth is at this point. It looks like he finished his 4-year contract. And then he agreed to a 1-year deal with the Falcons in 22. And then he caught on with the 49ers last season. So it sounds like he's kind of bounced around a little bit. But in 2023, he did appear in all 17 games, recorded 67 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 2 passes defensed, and 1 fumble recovery. So this is going to be a guy I take a look at. And can you guess why? He has playoff experience. He has Super Bowl experience. It's a guy that, is going to have that chip now that the 49ers just dumped him. And if you end up on the Lions squad and you have all of that knowledge, those are the guys that I go for. So you can pick their brain, because we're expecting to be facing off with the 49ers again at the tail end of next season. that's a guy that you want to have around to pick his brain about what, the 49ers do. So be on the lookout for Oliver to have a potential visit, an opportunity with the Lions as soon as he's allowed to. So that's really all that's going on in free agency right now. A few moves over the last couple of days. Things are starting to pick up, and it's going to start coming real fast and furious as the days wane here. But I'm going to pull in a PFF mock here. And the first one, I want you guys to kind of do it for me. Like, you guys make the picks. We'll do a full 7 round. I'm going to leave the settings the way that they are. Let me get it pulled in. All right, everybody see that okay? There we go. Okay, Justin G says, I guess a better question is, what star from the Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell era do you think leaves the Lions first? Man, that is a crazy question, Justin. That is a great question. Let me come back to that. Let me go to your previous one. You said that you had an oddball question after recent NFL cuts. Do you think that Panay remains a Lion for life? He looks like he fits that mold, but stuff happens. I do. I think that Panay's he's going to get locked up. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Lions. I mean, he's so young. I don't know if you give him a 4 or a 5 year deal. Why not give him a 6 or 7 year deal? I don't know if it's. I mean, I don't know how long of a deal you can give players in the NFL. But why not lock them up for a while? You get them in on a cheaper deal that way because you're signing them long term, and the price only increases every year. So after 4 years, it's going to be incredibly hard to keep him, on that second or that third contract because he's still going to be so young. He's like 22 years old, or 23. Whatever it is, he's super young to be, just now going through a second contract here by next year. Mike P says, I would not bring Jerry J back for anything more than a bench warmer and practice squad. I'm in that boat. I'm rolling with you, my man. Hatter's house. Been a minute. How you been? All the way hailing from California. He says, let Jonah walk. Sign Glasgow. Draft a guard. I'm rowing in your boat too. Braylon Dennis says he freaking loved Starling Thomas. I did too, man. I thought that guy was just a player. He was a dog. What about trying to get Gilmore from the Cowboys? So yeah, I mean, that Gilmore is just a little bit over the hill for me. I'd have to go look at his production to make any further comment, but from the things that I've read, he's really on the tail end of his career, from what I understand. But then again, you can't discredit like knowledge and experience in this league, because we've seen a couple of 34 and 36-year-olds come in this season that handled their business. They did okay. Cornerback's a little bit different. You really need a pretty fluid body to play corner in this league, because it's, unless you're coming in on specialty packages, you've got to have the goods. And if you're only coming in on specialty packages, then I would, I guess, argue against not bringing them in for, a considerable amount of money. All right, so before we do the PFF mock, make sure you guys check out sportspider.com. That is sport, SPYDER.com. You guys can get all of your news, all of your teams, all in one place. I love it. Check it out. If you guys haven't checked it out, I promise you, you're going to love how this website works. They're an amazing sponsor to have. It's an incredible website. I've already gotten a lot of great compliments about the site and bringing it to your guys' attention. So check it out, sportspider.com. All right, let's move on here. Lions are going to be on the clock. Do we want to do a trade? Do we want to do a trade first? Or do we want to just let it roll? First chat I see with an answer, that's what I'm rolling with. Oh, I can see Poppy Lynn said, don't even think about trading up in these mock simulators. I've tried it enough times to know that the final draft results will always suck. That's funny. All right. Steve K says move up to Arizona. You guys know that Arizona is the team that I pegged the Lions to trade with last season. And I pegged them again this season to be an option. Now, that's only because they have a ton of picks. We'll see what happens with the compensatory picks and if that's going to change anything. I'm trying to make this a little bigger here. There we go. Is that better? Okay. I do not know who Will Johnson is in the draft, demigod, but I'm sure we'll find out tonight. So we're gonna trade up. We're gonna try to trade. It's not giving me the option to trade. Why not? What's going on here? I do want to offer a trade before we start. And Arizona, here we go. We're going to take their number 4. We're going to have to give up 29. We're going to have to give up next year's round 1. And we're probably going to have to give up 92 at a minimum, if not more. Let's go low. They'll deny it. Okay, they denied it. Man, they got a ton of picks. Let's throw in a round 3 from 25. And they denied it again. That's way too much to give away. So we're going to give up our first pick, number 73, in round 1 and round 3 of next year to move up to number 4. That's not something I would do, but it just happened. So for me, I don't think it's worth it to move up to number 4 unless you're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. That's just my thoughts. And then you have Nate Wiggins, there at number 9. So there is not a defensive tackle or defensive, end that I would take other than Byron Murphy. You've also got Quinyon Mitchell, Terrion Arnold. So where do you guys want to go? Wide receiver, cornerback, defensive line? Steve K says, nah. Trade Goff and picks to move up for Marvin Harrison. This is a weak draft for our needs. It is. I think this draft is going to be great in the middle rounds for offensive line, safety, might even be a linebacker in there. Marvin Harrison it is. Marvin, cornerback, defensive line. Oh, there's all options. Defensive line, Harrison. I got 3 votes for Harrison. Let's just go Harrison. So by doing this, we still have 3 picks in the top 100, and we took number 4 overall. So now that we're down here, we've got to get cornerback or end or defensive line, right? By the way, I've got a video coming out on rookie Ororo. I can't say his name. Ororo coming out tomorrow. El Torre says he would stay at 29. I think I would too if I had to give up that much capital. I mean, if you look at what it took to move up last year, that's what it's going to take again this year. But Arizona, man, they're just going to be collecting all sorts of picks because somebody's going to want to move up. The question is, does Arizona really want to move back? I think if they do, they're going to want to stay in the top 10, top 12. All right, so we got Jaden Hicks at safety. Now, can Jaden Hicks play corner? That's a question, right? Can he play corner? He's 6'3", 212. He's a little bit big. I don't know his speed yet. That's why we need the combine. We got Jonathan Brooks. We don't need a halfback. We could take an offensive lineman here if there's one that made sense, but you got Braylon Trice, Washington edge. You got rookie, which I think, he definitely won't be there at 92. And I love Brendan Rice. See, I would take Brendan Rice, in the middle round at 73 or 61 versus Marvin Harrison. But Marvin Harrison is such an incredible specimen. All right, give me a pick. We got Trice. We've got to get a DT in the top corner. All right, we're going to take Trice. We're going to try to get through this draft quick because this one's going to suck. We'll take Trice. He's not my favorite. I think he's got short arms. All right, now we're at 92. We almost need to grab an offensive guard or a corner. Now, we might have an opportunity to get Hayden at 163, but look who's there. Chris Abrams-Drain. What about McGlovern? Where's he at? Whoever showed me that guy or told me to do the video on him, love him. So right now he's at 165. So we're going to try to get him with our next pick, and I'm going to have to move up in the draft to grab him. Guard. McCormick, cornerback. All right, so Mason McCormick's an option. Let's take a look and see if we've got a good center guard option in here. Bo Lemer, I'm passing on. I was high on Bo Lemer, but his arms are a little short. And I know I'm a weirdo. I'm all about the arm length. So Mason McCormick, let's take a look at him. He's got great grades. Wow, really good grades. Left guard, no center. Man, you almost have to take this guy. Have to. McCormick it is. BB, I checked him out again. He's kind of dropping on my list, and I am going to pull out a full list right after the draft of my top picks. There's Kamal Hayden at 184. We're not going to get him at 207. So far we've got a guard. We have Marvin Harrison, Braylon Trice, and McCormick. Cornerback. Yep. Kamal. I do like Kamal. All right. Let me whittle the list down. There's McGlovern. I do like McGlovern too. Like I watched his tape and I was really impressed. Yeah, Zinter, he might fall. Last year I was high on a guy that had an injury and he did fall like crazy. So because I just watched McGlovern's tape and I really do like him, I am Vincent Somies. Can I send you a picture of my mock? Yeah, you can just email it to info@rockdownpodcastnetwork.com. All right, let's pull up McGlovern here. So great grades, 91.3 this year. Completion percentage against is a 48%, so that's not terrible. Man coverage grade, 80.3. Run defense grade is solid. I mean, it's a 65, so that's not terrible. Played 9 games this year, so he didn't play a full season. He only had 25 balls thrown his way, 12 receptions. Three interceptions. Did he really take 2 to the house off an interception? Or did he play some offense? What's going on there? Yeah, I'll put the email in the chat. Just give me 1 second. Passer rating against 51.2. I mean, that's solid. He forced 5 incompletions, 1 dropped interception, 5 coverage stops. So dude's solid. And if you guys haven't watched his tape yet, you got to do it because you're going to love it. So I say we take McGlovern. Anybody oppose? Oh, let me go back. 6'2", 188. So he's like perfect size. And he'll probably add, 7-8 pounds his first season. Here's the email. All right, we're going to take McLovin. Let's see who slips to 207. There we go. Now you guys can see it better. Jalen Ford is down there at 217. He's not terrible. All right, so back up to the top here. I don't know anything about Zion Logue. Got Jalen Harrell from Michigan, edge. I don't know much about him either. Any of you University of Michigan people have any news on Harrell? He looks like a little light at 242. Let's take a look at his stats. Pass rush grade 86, run defense grade 73.2. True pass set rush grade 85.3. Oh, pass rush win rate pretty solid at 19.9. Outside tackle 451. As far as snaps, 21 hurries on the season. Played in 15 games. So he had a full season. My question is was he outside the tackles? So yeah, I think he could work on the right side. Again, I haven't seen any of his tape. How did who do against Harrison Jr.? Jalen Harrell, he's a DE. We also have Solomon Byrd from USC, and then Tanner Bortolini, so a center. See if he played any guard. Looks like he played some left guard in 2022. He played some right guard in 2022, and then full-time center in 2023. He is 6'4", 310, so he's right in that sweet spot. Probably could be bulked up to 325. It's all about the arms, though. If he doesn't have 33-inch arms, I'd always pass every single day. I'll take a kicker with my last draft pick. I don't know if I'm going to do it in this mock, but and we have Dylan McMahon. I did like Dylan McMahon. He doesn't have the greatest of grades, but he does have some versatility at left guard, right guard, and center. 6'4", 305, so he could definitely bulk up a little bit. But if we're going to draft best player available based on what the Lions need, you got another guard here, Javion Cohen, straight left guard. Terrible grades, though. 6'4", 305. What about Tyron Hopper, left linebacker? 6'2", 221, so he's a little light. I mean, that's a big safety. All right, we need a pick. I know these picks suck right now because you're in the end of the... Luke McCaffrey, Christian's brother. Did you see him in here? Is he a running back? Because we don't need a running back. All right, I'm just going to take BPA here. So I'm going to go with what we need and BPA at the same time. 6'5", 310, defensive line, Zion Logue, Michigan defensive lineman, Jalen Harrell. All right, Harrell's a good player. That's who we're going to take. Ooh, Talia Tagovailoa. I can't even say that name today either. Tua's brother. Do we need a third quarterback on the roster? 5'11", 208. So, I mean, he's kind of small. Prototypical size is 6'2.5". Kenny Logan Jr., safety. We do need safeties all day. You can never have enough. Man, he plays all over the place. Plays deep, plays in the box, plays a lot down in the box. So they must run a lot of nickel. Six foot 205. I think that's the guy I'm going with. We've also got Evan Anderson from Florida Atlantic. Decent grades for somebody this late in the draft. And he's a B gapper. We do need a B gap guy. 6'3", 356. Who is this dude? Evan Anderson. Man, this guy is he's a monster. Question is, can he move? Grit Warriors only, bro. Oh, I love it. The Grit Warriors. Derek should he should trademark that. The Grit Warriors. You like the safety? I like the safety too. You've also got a tight end here, Trey Knox, and the Lions are light in the tight end department. It all depends on who's coming back, but he's got a 25% contested catch rate. That's not real high, but let me look where you're taking him to. You know, he's 6'5", 237, so he's a big boy. Don't know his speed, so I don't have enough information on him to really make an informed decision. But I'm going to go ahead and take Kenny Logan. I think that you take a safety this late in the draft, you almost kind of have to. You need to bring in guys for camp. You know, it doesn't mean that he's going to make the roster, but is what it is. Marvin Harrison Jr., they gave us an A for giving up all that draft capital. So for giving up 4 picks, 2 this year and 2 next year, we got 1 back. Overall B- in the draft. That's not terrible, but Mason McCormick gave us an A- at 91. Dwight McLaughlin gave us a B+ at 163. So not bad. Braylon Trice, though, for whatever reason, only a C+ at pick 61. Go ahead and take the CFL cornerback player now. I don't know. Is he listed in here? Let's find out. Stiggers. And I don't see him in here. So the code on PFF is 30MDS, Mary Dog Sam. And matter of fact, when you go to PFF, it jumps right out at you. I didn't see Stiggers in there. All right, let's do one more. No trades this time. Oh, I got to redo it. I didn't pick all 7 rounds. What do you guys think about Justin Fields? More than likely exiting the NFC North, and then we're probably going to have to face off against Caleb Williams, which is the guy that I've wanted the Lions to draft for a while. I said that this would be the year for the Lions to go and draft a quarterback if they were going to do it. But Goff, I mean, I'm not saying to move off of Goff, but I'm just saying that this was the draft. Last year was not. And wait till you see the video dropping on McLaughlin too, because I'm going to try to get some stats. That's why it didn't come out today. All right, not stats, highlights. I'm trying to get some highlights together that YouTube won't give me a fit about, because this guy, he's a baller for sure. All right, here we go. Vincent Somé says he gave up the 1st and the 3rd 2025 picks and got Latu, Kool-Aid, Sweat, McCormick, Nugent, Cephas, and Ezram. I do like Sweat. I'm not big on Latu because of the neck injury. I don't want any players with neck or back injuries at all. That's just me personally, because we've seen what has happened to Levi Onwuzurike and then, Vaitai. So it's just, I stay as far away from those as possible. Of course, ACLs, I can't stand guys coming off ACLs because they're not going to play. All right, Donovan Amos says first round offense, second round defense, third round offense, third round defense, and or vice versa. Donovan Amos says take Kevin Hart in the draft. Why not? All right, so here we are. We are at pick 29. Ooh, Zach Frazier. Zach Frazier is a dog. 6'3", 310. Decent grades. Tough for competition at his school. Plays center, and he also can play guard, but he's played center his entire life. But, for someone to come into the league, he'll be willing to play guard. And I'm sure that his agent, they've already discussed this, that there's going to be some teams that need you to play guard versus center right away. And this is somebody that I think that we would love to have back up Ragnow and learn from Ragnow. And I know it's the most unsexy pick in the world to grab a center at pick 29, but I'm going to do one more draft after this. I'm going to trade back in the next one. So I will let you guys go ahead and pick. We've got a vote here for Barton and Frazier. Barton's the tackle at Duke. Pretty solid grades. His gap grade's not the best, but I'm not real sure that's going to matter. Straight left tackle. So the only issue there is, he's backing up Decker, and you take a guy this early, you're going to want him to start. So is he willing to play guard? That's going to be the question. I do not know let's look up his arm length real quick. So he's coming in at 6'5", 314, 32 and 5/8 inch arms. So by my metrics, and when I went through the top 20 of all positions and did the average, and then just from what I've known for 20 plus years, 33-inch arms are the minimum for tackles. If you have short arms, it's going to be very difficult to keep those bull rushing, defensive ends like Aiden Hutchinson off of you. And you got to get out and get long. So he's a tweener because he's right on the edge. I mean, 5/8. And I don't have a metric for his hands, a measurable for his hands. If he had big hands, like 10-inch hands or something, well, then I think, you add the two together and you're fine. Now, if he had 9-inch hands, obviously that's a problem. So let's hold off on Barton only because I don't know if he's going to play guard. You've got Tyler Nubin as a safety. First look tells us he's 6'2", 210. So he's not totally out of the range to play corner. Can you convert some of these guys? Let's go back and look at him for just a second. So he only played 5 snaps at corner. He played most of his time deep. So he may not be the best cover corner, but his coverage grade is a 90.1 as a safety. 20% forced incompletion rate. That's incredible. So, I mean, there's options, right? So you got Darius Robinson, Frazier, or Kool-Aid? All right, let me move down a little bit. TJ Tampa, everyone's passing on Tampa. Darius Robinson is at pick 45, so that's exactly why I would move back. And then you got Chop Robinson right there too. So let's try to pick somebody that we know we need right now. We need a corner, a defensive end, a center guard, or a defensive tackle. Frazier, Kool-Aid, Robinson, Frazier, Kool-Aid. So Kool-Aid or Frazier? We got 3 votes for Frazier. All right, we're going Frazier. All right, so we went offense. Now we got to go defense, right? We got to find a cornerback, a defensive end, or a defensive tackle. Braylon Trice didn't grade out well last time. We'll stay away from him. Austin Booker, I'm not high on because he's kind of skinny. Now, I know that some of the analysts have him pretty high. Mel Kiper being one of them. I have Brandon Dorloose way over him. You got Devontae Walker as a wide receiver. You know, who is that one guy? Xavier Leggett. This guy, you want a big body? This is him. Have you guys seen him play? Have you watched any of his tape yet? Bobby Boucher. Yeah, let's try Bobby Boucher, the Great Lakes State guy. Xavier Leggett, man, he is an animal, like incredible. It gives you Calvin Johnson vibes, but maybe we could pick him up at 73 if he's still there. Let's try to get a defender real quick. I think we take Brandon Dorloose. What do you guys think? I know it's kind of reaching here, but draft Spencer James and then Jordan Baker. Spencer James, where's he at? I don't see any of those guys. You got Trevonde Sweat. I don't think that he's going to be at 73 for some reason. I don't even know why he's still available. So that's who I'm taking. I'm reaching. Big time reach. And then look, we got Xavier Leggett at 72. We're at pick 73. We still need a corner. And then you got Brandon Fisk. A lot of people are high on this guy. Defensive line. What about Jerry and Jones? Cornerback, 6 foot, 191. Not terrible grades. 87 coverage grade, 90.7 man cover. There we go. So I think if you're going to go BPA and you're going to go for what you need at the same time, we know that we need a corner. We've already got defense and offensive line taken care of. And this guy's a man corner. I think you almost have to take him. And to your point there, the Leggett, yes, I would love to have Leggett, but it doesn't fit the BPA right now. Yeah, I don't see him falling that far either. I think that once he gets through the combine, he could potentially slip early in the second. So we've got Brandon Dorloose, Darian Jones, Chris Abrams-Drain. There was somebody else in here. I think we have to take Jerry and Jones. He's a cover corner. All right, take Jones. I see a vote for Jones. So pick 92 is just about it. I mean, you're really not going to have much luck after this. And that's why in this next one that I'm going to do, I'm going to try to trade up and try to add some picks. Ooh, here's the guy that I just did a video on. He is a Brad Holmes guy all day long. All day. His numbers are not the greatest. He had an off year in this last season, but I've seen enough on the tape to tell me as a B gap guy that we do need. And I don't know if a lot of people pay attention to that. You know, if you do these PFF mock drafts or, you know, do you really look at how the defense utilizes the players and the positions? And we are heavy on the B gap. So it almost makes sense to grab somebody like that. I do not think Dwayne Carter is going to be here at, you know, he's ranked 102. I do not think he's going to be here at 92, assuming that he has a really good combine. But at the same time, Renardo Green is another solid man cover guy, 6 foot, 186. We need a lot of corners in this draft. Yes, Dwayne Carter is an amazing locker room guy. 1000%. Laugh out loud. All American TV show, Spencer James and Jordan Baker. Okay. So you're just screwing around. I got you. Got you. Next draft, trade down 4 to 6 spots. Yeah, that's the goal. I want to trade back and see if I can't add another pick. This Matt Goncalves, I'm going to do a video on him too. His grades may not be the best, but once you watch this guy's tape, and he's someone that has right and left tackle experience, great backup behind both of our tackles, especially if somebody, were to get injured. 6'6", 330, has the arm length. He is somebody I do like, and he would be somebody that I would take right here, but we already took an offensive lineman. And I mean, again, this is going to be a draft that you can't get enough. And then there's Mason McCormick. We do need a guard. I think that's where I'm going to have to go. I see we are looking to spend Brad's money. 1,000%, Roger, or Robert, sorry. 1,000%. All right, so I would go McCormick. Abrams Drain, 5'11", 178. It's a little too small for me. Dwayne Carter, defensive line. Renardo Green, good cover corner. All right, the next vote takes it. Yeah, Joshua Baker. He could replace Skipper or Matt Nelson. Matt Nelson didn't come back this last season, though. I'm wondering if he's even going to be back. And Skipper, I think, will be back. I think he's too much of the heart and soul of this team. All right, we're going guard. McCormick it is. And I don't like, going from 93 to 163. That is way too big of a gap. I do like Sweat. I do like Sweat a lot. And I would have taken him. But, oh, boy. Now you got Theo Johnson sitting there right for the taking. He's moved up a few spots. And you almost have to take him. The guy's way too good, and we do need a tight end, especially if we want to continue. But then you got Dwight McGlothern there, too. Yeah, it's too big of a gap. That's why I would love to move back and add another pick in the 4th round or late in the 3rd round because it just makes sense. There's going to be a lot of players like we're seeing right here. Would you really want to pass on a McGlothern or, a Theo Johnson, and some of these other guys in here that are going to be available? I wouldn't. All right, Theo it is. I have a feeling this draft might grade out pretty good. I did watch the tape on Frank Gore Jr. Fun to watch. Too bad we don't need a halfback, but at 5'8", I'm sure he's more like 5'7". I think he's going to be able to do something in the next level, but I just don't know how soon he's going to be able to get in. I can't remember the guy from the Cowboys, but his dad works for the Cowboys, and he was drafted there, and he actually played pretty darn well. For a smaller running back, he had a heck of a season. All right, so next up, I still think that we need to try to find some cornerback help here. Or is there any flyers on a wide receiver that we would take at 207? You got Dylan McMahon there, center. Again, we need a center and a guard. McMahon's sitting there. Yeah, we don't need to worry about it, right? I see that. We got our number 1 corner coming by ways of Mr. Horn. All right, let's see who's next here. Let's see who we got. Again, I'll pull up McMahon and show you guys terrible grades. It's got the size, 6'4", 305. A center that can play guard. Holy Cross guys are generally pretty darn good. Right guard, which we do need, 6'6", 305. So he could put on 20 pounds. And Brian Egwu. 6'3", 250 is a little too small for me. All right, so what's our next move, guys? Where are we going? Johnny Dixon, Penn State cornerback. Terrible grades. It's almost like a pick 'em when you get down here. What about Josh Wallace from Michigan? Bobby Tarantino, what's happening? Yeah, we're just doing a couple of mock drafts, round out the night. We did a good story on Stiggers earlier. Dude it just has an incredible story. I had to read it. We did pick McCormick. I think we picked Frazier too. But Josh Wallace looks like he has some pretty decent grades here. In man cover is not the best, but he's got a decent coverage grade. Pretty low completion percentage. One dropped interception. Definitely plays corner. Pretty low passer rating again, 66.2. I think I'm going to take a flyer on Josh Wallace. We still need some cornerback help. Man, last pick of the draft for us. Andrew Rame, center. Let's take a look. 6'4", 309, a little light. Oh, I clicked out of it. No guard experience in college. Go safety. All right, let's pull up the safeties here. Normally, I would take a kicker here because we need a kicker. Got Kenny Logan Jr. again. Coverage grade. Plays all over the place. All right, that's it for this one here. Oh, we got some terrible grades. Trevonde Sweat. We did take Sweat. B-. So Zach Frazier netted us a C- at 29. Trevonde Sweat, we reached 30 spots to take him. Jerrion Jones, cornerback, B-. Mason McCormick, man, he's getting a really great grade there at 92. Theo Johnson is a B. Josh Wallace is a good grade as a B. And Kenny Logan, C+. So you netted 2 corners and a safety, a center, a guard, and 1 defensive lineman. I mean, I wouldn't be mad. I really wouldn't. I mean, I hate always going trenches, but I wouldn't be mad. And all of this is going to change. You know, it's going to change as soon as the combine is over. All of this stuff is going to change, and that's where I'm going to be able to figure out who's moving where, and there's going to be a lot of stuff, you know, from everybody that's going to change, and that's what I love about the NFL, man. You never know until it happens. All right, let's try to get a trade here. So I want to try to trade back. If Brad Holmes moves up, it's going to have to be into the top 20. And I haven't done one of those yet, only because I don't know really who has enough draft capital, you know, that would be willing to trade back. So Carolina, I mean, only going back 4 spots, maybe. Why is it not letting me go any further back? Am I missing something here? Why can't I go back any further? I'm definitely not dropping all the way to 55, but I would like to go into the second round, and it's trying to force me to stay into the first. Well, let's see what Carolina has. They have 33. So here's a move that I would do. This is what I would do. All right, 33. And I'm going to give them obviously 29, but they're going to have to give me 65. They're not going to take this. I'm going to have to make 2 trades. But I don't like the gap between 92 and 163. So let's see if they'll throw in 102. All right. Let's do it. So this is going to be a pure draft that I would do. So this is what I would be looking at. All right. Look at safety. Safeties are all ranked late, like real late into the, second round, which could be good for the Lions. It really could. But because these grades are terrible right now, I hate the way that it grades. I'm going to take Tampa. Lions need a corner. Bad. And then I'm going to double it up. You can never have enough. I think by pick 73, I think I would still be able to grab somebody on the defensive line or offensive line. Mason McCormick, I might be able to get him at 92. You saw Mason. I didn't see a Mason. Wow, Xavier Legette is still there. Yeah, they are brutal. They're very brutal. They're tough tonight. And then you got Braden Fisk sitting there too. It's got a very low pass rush win rate, but technique is everything, and he does play a lot of B gap, so it's almost like you have to do it if you really want to set the stage for this defense and to really have an impactful season. Hey, what's happening? Sports Talk with Rob. Haven't seen you in a while, man. How you been? Who did you say you saw? You saw Sweat in there? I didn't see Sweat. Oh my God, he's still there. Let's see if we can snag him at 90. He's. I think I'd rather go with Fisk. I mean, I know we need offensive line badly, but there's some offensive linemen in the free agency market too that almost makes sense to get. And that's what I'm banking on. I'm banking on, pulling in a guard in the free agency market. Yeah, the combine will make this a lot easier because it's hard, and it changes all the grades. But I like Braden Fisk. The only concern that I have about Braden Fisk is his measurables. He's got 31-inch arms, so I can't do it. If you struggle with 32 and 3/8 inch arms, you're going to struggle with 31. So I'm gonna have to do it. I got to grab the stud wide receiver. I have to. Yeah, 31 inch is terrible. Mason McCormick, you already know I want to take him because he's gonna round out our offensive line pick that we desperately need, and this guy is a dog. I'm gonna take him. 102 is the pick that we added, and 102 is Dwayne Carter. Look at that. That lined up good. But I do like Ronaldo Green or Renardo Green. Doesn't have the best run defense grade, but again, a lot of that stuff can be fixed with technique. He is a really good cover corner, man cover corner. Lions need corners. I'm drafting a corner. I still don't like that weight. I mean, there's a lot of players getting taken between 102 and 163 that could benefit the Lions. I hope that they somehow figure out a way to add some more draft capital. And so that's a giant reach for Kamal Hayden, but he's going to be gone. So we need corners. And I think he's going to be a game changer. And we do need a center that can play guard. Mm, 6'4", 325 is pretty big. That's that big dude. That's like 360 pounds. What about Jaden Crometti? Anybody know anything on this guy? 6'5", 305. And then Keith Randolph played with the other guy from Illinois. All right, 2 more picks here. Last pick should be a kicker, but for tonight, it's not going to be. I'm taking the safety or Lapadou. He's a pretty good guy. All right, you guys can crucify me later, but you want to address needs in the draft, you almost have to address them all. That's a pretty damn good draft, if you ask me. B plus, B, B, A minus, couple of C's there at the end. But look what we addressed. We got 1, 2, 3 corners and a safety. And I think that we all agree that our cornerbacks are terrible. You bring in a class like this that hopefully, these guys can make it onto the field. You got a dog and a wide receiver. I mean, that dude is an absolute animal. And I think rookie's going to be pretty good. He reminds me of Anza. Not a whole lot of experience, and you guys will see that in the tape that I'm going to be doing. That'll be coming out tomorrow. I'm sorry, the video. But we also grabbed a guard and a center that can both play guard. And we've got some good depth here. The only thing that we're missing here is, a lot more defensive line help. But this is a defensive line draft that is, really thin. So if you don't move up, you don't move up, and you're just not going to be able to get, the players that you need. Sports Talk with Rob says, I guess a kicker don't matter when your coach goes for it on 4th and 50 every time. Donovan Amos says, I'm going to send my mock draft. Go ahead. I'll look at it. And then when I jump back on tomorrow or the next day, I'll review them and we'll see what we got. So, all right. So tonight, I appreciate you guys all jumping in to listen to the story of Stiggers, man. Incredible story. I hope the guy does something in the NFL. I hope someone gives him a shot because he deserves it. And quite honestly, there's going to be a lot of movement over the next couple of days. There's going to be a lot of action. I'll try to bring you guys, the best information that I can as I know it. And we'll have some fun with it, man. We're just starting to get ramped up. We are 1 week away. Well, less than 1 week away from the NFL Combine. I'll be down there on the first night for sure, taking in the festivities, and we're going to have some fun with it. So, all right, y'all. I appreciate y'all for joining tonight for Rock Down Detroit Lions and Off the Cuff podcast. You guys have yourself a wonderful Friday night. I'm finally going to go eat dinner. So until next time, y'all take care of yourself. Bye-bye.